Hi, in this video we're going to talk about some of the time functions such as now, and it has some parameters. We commonly use now function, but we ignore the parameters. They can be very useful in some cases. Some use cases. So I'm going to talk about them and how we can use that and what they are. So essentially, if you see, I have now one. It's showing me some of these values. But before that, I'm going to go to the backend where I have created those variables. I have now, and now can have parameters as well. These parameters can be 0, 1, or 2. So I have created some variables using that in the reload in the backend script. So they behave differently in backend script and in the front end. In the backend script, it gives us the value at that point in time when the reload happened. But on the front end, if I use that directly in a chart, it gives me the value as of now. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reload that here. And once reload is complete, I'm going to go to the front end. Now you see I have now function is showing me now and now one. They are exactly the same. They are showing me the current time at the time of the reload, and it is almost right now. Okay. Then I have now to function, which basically shows me the time of my session start. So when was my last session started? So it gives me that particular. So sometimes it can be handy that you want to give users or show data at the start of the session, so that the analysis is consistent and anything, or you want to filter out something when the session was started. This function now too can be very handyful then. And then we have now zero function, which essentially shows us the last successful load before the current one. So essentially it shows the current last successful reload, but during the execution, because at that time the load hasn't completed, so it isn't successful. So the last successful reload is the previous one. So this can be very handy when you are trying to determine the time between the reloads and want to show it to the people, or you want to do certain analysis based on the time of the previous reload. So it can be very handy, and we can use that. Then I have just shown that if you see the last reload time is actually this one. There is a function you might know there. It's called a reload time function. So I have used that, and it is showing me that here. And then now these are all I have used that in variables. So now we'll see how these functions will behave if I use them on the front end. So here is a difference. So on the front end, it is showing me now what is the current time now. If I just refresh the page, this value is gonna update on the current time. Okay. And similarly, if I use this function directly on the front end, this now function, you see the time is changing. So if I use that directly on the front end, now to gives me the time of session start. This is same for both if the session started at the same time. Definitely if my session at the time of the reload was different and then it disconnected, I connected again, I didn't reload it, that will be different. Okay, so again, it can be useful for that purpose. And then I have the last successful reload. So in this case, now on the front end, so the reload time, the time at the reload and the current reload is exactly the same, but definitely last successful reload, if I use that at the back end, is different. So this is the difference on the front end and the back end using the now function. Now brings me to an interesting use case. An interesting function is local time function. So the local time function essentially, okay, so before that I have you can use today function as well on the front end or the back end, but the parameters are exactly the same as of now using now. But if you see, it doesn't give me any meaningful analysis for now, but if there is a difference between reloading and all those things, so it can be, you can use that. So in this case, today function give me a date, so it is not different, but you can use these parameters for today as well in very same scenario as we used the current. And then we have the local time function. Okay, so the local time function is very similar to now function, except it gives me the time and date in local as of local time. As an example, now always gives me the time in GMT. So there was a use case where my data timestamp in my table was using local timestamp. It was sending the data in the local timestamp. But when I was trying to read that, and I was using the reload time or anything else, it wasn't not matching, and there was a problem. So it brings me to local time function, which saved me there. So I can use the time function of that particular area for this particular reload or incremental reload. So how it works is, if I can show you my function here, uh, it basically takes two parameters. One is mandatory. I put local time and then I put a city. I've used that in a use a variable here, and then I can also tell that, if that city, I need to ignore a daylight saving season or not. Okay, so currently I have Karachi here and it's showing me my though current time is 10:13, but it's PM, and in Karachi this is 10:13 AM. So let me change the value and let's just put Riyadh here, which is in Saudi. So it's at a different time. And let me put Paris here. It changes the time. Okay. So this way you can get the local time. Which cities you can enter and what exactly format they are. There is basically a clicks list where you can in the local time function. So you can use these as a city parameter, and you can also use GMT plus in your local time as a parameter. This gives us the results as well. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more.